Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Giuseppina. I am an intuitive healer. I talk about topics that are about spiritual awakening, healing from trauma, changing our subconscious programming, and as well as autism and how it relates to all of that. So, I want to talk about the feeling of not belonging and why that is such a huge thing for autistic people. So I feel like this video might be a little bit controversial because I know there's a lot of people that don't resonate with this idea and they also think it's not a good idea to have. But however, this is my own experience. And so if you don't relate or resonate with this, that you can just not watch the video, okay? So when I first learned I was autistic last year, there was a lot that I had to unpack, and including my own internalized ableism, which was huge. Um, Now, I feel like I fought on that a lot, about how, you know, that it's a disability, and I didn't want to think of myself as being disabled. However, after much time and how bad my burnout has been and how I'm significantly struggling with so many things, there's definitely a huge aspect of that which I have to come to terms with. With that being said, I need to talk about something that is really important. Now, most of us felt like we never belonged, and there's a lot of us who felt like we were like not from another planet, we were from another planet or something, and that we just didn't belong. We didn't fit in. There was something different. There's so many of us probably that identify as being a starseed and all these other things, and I know that there's so many people that are not for this, and this video is not for you then, and that's fine. And I'm not going to argue with you if you don't believe that. So just please just stop watching the video and go to something else. There's lots of wonderful YouTubers out there with lots of content. So, what is going on with that? Let's talk about that more. So, before any of this happened, before I started my path as a healer and stuff like that, I've always been someone who has kind of like been rebelling against the system and everything. And I just never thought it was I just thought everything was rigged and that it wasn't really something that benefited the people. And I did everything I could to fight against the powers. I even tried to join certain things. I literally was like the vice president of my union. I got elected to that trying to make a change, thinking that I could make a change. Oh my goodness, how naive I was. But our system is just not designed for even the average person to thrive. And the people who think that they're thriving is an illusion. It's an illusion because the people are the product of this mechanism in place that is just like, these cogs in a machine that are cycling through, letting people just continue. Where the people who are really benefiting from our systems are these very powerful people, the amount of like wealth and power that we'll never see in our lifetime. And why am I talking about this? Well, we talk about how autism is a disability and all these things, but let's talk about the other aspects of it. And there's people who have higher needs. I might be considered someone who is lower needs, to the outside world because of how I'm able, my ability to communicate and other things like that. But this is all relative because people who seem like, sorry, I'm not meaning to use the word like my doctor called me high functioning, but I mean, these are relative because nobody really knows like the extent of how much we're actually suffering and internally. But with that being said, even though we have all these things that we're struggling with, the reality is it's a struggle more so because of our societal programming, because of the model that is presented before us. Because if we were presented with a different model that was actually conducive to, people thriving, being connected, and being, in alignment with their fulfillment and things like that, the reality is that struggle that we are experiencing would not be the same. I'm going to say that again. The struggles that we experience as autistic people are only at that, you know, amount, or we experience it that greatly because of our programming, because of the societal programming and the structures that we have in place. And that if we actually had programming or a way of being that was more conducive for people to thrive and be connected, we would not be experiencing the same type of struggle. Guaranteed. So you might think that's a loaded comment, but is it really? Our society is built to create like these subservient civil servants to go along and do what they want. We all know that. Neurodivergent folks know this immediately when we're in school and how we didn't fit in with the culture. I mean, I seemingly fit in because I was so, gifted, and I excelled so easily in school until I didn't, until not that I didn't understand things, but by the time you get older, I don't know how to do the rest of the things because I got by on everything because of how good I was at acing my tests and, knowing all the answers so easily and being ahead of my class. It, appeared that I was doing well, but I wasn't, and I had no social skills whatsoever. I didn't know how to communicate with people. I didn't, all these other things that were happening below the surface that nobody had any, like, nobody had any awareness of. But if we actually truly had a connected society, like our school structures are not built to create children who are embody their purpose and their joy and things like that, and we don't focus on that. We make them feel smaller. We put them in boxes. If they're acting out, we say, that's too much, Johnny, and things like that, Like, we don't want kids to be too much. We want them to be just enough to fit into the mold in the box and to follow the line, you know? We don't want the disruptors. They don't want the disruptors. And we essentially are the disruptors. And there's so much happening, below the surface, because I can talk about this for hours, but, and because I don't want this video to be like forever long, I'm just going to say this. We have the capacity to identify, to tune into different things, our different frequencies, different ideas, and things like that. Something so much more expansive and broader than um, an holistic person might be able to do. And so, because of that, we are able to identify that that's not it. The model of living is not it. It's almost like we can see, and that whole story about the king's new clothes, or the one who's naked, and all the kids are like, he's in the emperor's new clothes. That's what it is. And the kids are like, oh, he's naked. And then one's like, oh, hush your mouth. He's not naked. But the kids are like, all those kids are neurodivergent kids. You know it. And they're like, what are you talking about? That emperor's like butt naked. So we are essentially the children in the emperor's new clothes, where we can see those things. We can identify the farce reality that is occurring around us, except because we've been, since we were little, told that um, to be a certain way, we don't speak up. We keep our ideas to ourselves. We, instead of, saying like, hey, this is all BS. You guys are all full of crap. The emperor's naked. Instead of doing that, we close off inside and we say nothing and we self implode and, hold that all inside, trying to fit into their world because of maybe we're bullied or shut out, or, anxieties around trying to fit in, and we mask and all that stuff. So I think that we've reached a place now where a lot of us are finally like recognizing that about ourselves and saying like, hey, there's nothing wrong with us. There's something very wrong with your structures here, like very wrong, and I don't think I'm going to shut up about it anymore. And I'm very happy to see more and more people speaking on this, and it brings me so much joy since it's something I've been speaking about a lot. Um, this is something that I've always been passionate about, but only now it's kind of been brought to the forefront for me again since I've learned a lot of things about myself. But it's not to say like that we have like special powers or anything like that. It's just the way that our programming is for whatever reason, autistic folks, and I'm not even sure if that would even be the right word. Maybe it'll be another term later on, like, but because of the way our brains are built, the ability that we have to, and it's like I said, it's not special abilities. Maybe some autistic people think they have special abilities, but just the way we have access to things with our brains puts us in a different place where we can see things and recognize other things that other people don't. And so we clearly see the emperor has no clothes, but yet we've been told so long, like, no, the emperor has clothes. So we have to accept something that we know is not true and try to live in a world where we see that it's not true and that people gaslight us into thinking that it is true. He's I mean sorry that it's not true that he's fully clothed and all this stuff. And so this is like an extremely um, rocky place for us to exist in. It feels like unstable. It feels like we are constantly questioning ourselves. So I'm here to tell you that you don't need to question yourself anymore. That if you have felt like that, you were always right. And the reason that you feel like you don't belong is not because you don't belong. It's because we do belong, and there are like have this whole charade happening here because of our programming that's been happening for hundreds of years, and you're not part of it. It kind of reminds me of Pavel. No, what's wrong with me right now? The Cave by oh my god, what's wrong with me right now? I'm having like a brain fart right now. But anyways, The Cave by it's a philosopher. Why am I like losing? I have to look it up now because I can't let it go. It's it's Plato. Sorry, I took philosophy and I'm just like, this is my favorite allegory of the cave. The allegory of the cave by Plato, and the person who escapes the cave and he sees that it's all like a farce and that everything is not the way it is, and everyone's like continuing to play into the game saying, what are you talking about, you're crazy, stop it, you're the one that's wrong, something's wrong with you, what the hell. If you're not familiar with the allegory of the cave by Plato, I really highly suggest you go and read it. You can probably listen to it on an audiobook if you can't read it. I even wrote an article about it that's posted on Elephant Journal. My my interpretation of that, and how when we try to break out of the systems and do our own thing, how difficult that is, how difficult it is to break out of that and create a new programming and stuff, which is why I'm like grateful for these avenues and all these people being able to connect with one another, because we can have these discussions and talk about it and validate one another and say like, hey, you're not wrong, I feel like that too, and you're right, and we're all right, and what are we going to do about this? Well, the first thing is that we can start talking about it freely. We can find the other ones who are in this place. We can give each other the support and the strength and validation that we needed ever since we were young, that we never received from everyone else. So if you're here and you're one of those people that feels like, oh my god, I never belonged and I just don't fit in, you fit in. You fit into the true, authentic, real version of what life should be. You fit into that just perfectly fine. However, our society is not programmed that way, unfortunately. And the good news is that we have a chance to create that, and maybe not in our lifetime and change everything, but at least we can begin to create the spaces that embody that for us and maybe for everyone in the future. But anyways, I really hope that you're, having an okay day today, and that I hope that you're, giving yourself the self care and support that you need, and have the people around you that can hold space for you. Anyways, welcome to my channel again, and please like and subscribe. And if you want to hear more on this or other things, comment in the comments and we can have more discussions on this. Okay? Take care.